ABC General Hospital spoilers, the Pentonville conspiracy, and Willow's desperate fight for survival. Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today, we will learn about one of the most intense and harrowing storylines that has gripped General Hospital viewers in recent weeks. This is a tale of mistaken identity, prison violence, and the dangerous intersections between the mob underworld and those caught in its crosshairs. So settle in as we explore the dramatic events surrounding Willow's attack and the massive conflict it creates between some of Port Charles' most powerful figures. The fatal misunderstanding in Pentonville. The trouble begins when a group of extremely dangerous prisoners housed in Pentonville Penitentiary somehow learn that Willow Tate has a significant connection to Michael Corinthos. Now, this information alone might not have been so catastrophic, but what makes it particularly dangerous is the context in which these inmates receive this news. They come to understand that Michael Corinthos is none other than the son of Sonny Corinthos, one of the most powerful and feared mafia bosses in the entire Port Charles underworld. Sonny's reputation is legendary. He's a man who has built an empire through ruthlessness, cunning, and an absolute willingness to do whatever it takes to maintain his power and protect his interests. Once the prisoners realize that Willow is connected to Michael, and therefore potentially connected to the Corinthos organization itself, their minds begin working in dangerous ways. In the prison environment, where territorial power and reputation are everything, being connected to someone on the outside, especially someone connected to organized crime, can change how inmates view you completely. The prisoners in Pentonville, hardened by years of incarceration and shaped by the violent culture of prison life, begin to construct a narrative around Willow's presence and connections. This narrative, however, is fundamentally flawed and based on a dangerous misconception. The inmates become convinced, or perhaps convince themselves, that Willow is what they call a rat or informant. In prison slang, a Chutton-High is someone who has turned state's evidence, someone who has cooperated with law enforcement, someone who has betrayed their connections in exchange for leniency or protection. This is one of the most serious accusations that can be leveled against anyone in the prison system, because it represents the ultimate betrayal of the code that governs prison life. The prisoners are absolutely certain in their belief that Willow has become an informant against the Corinthos organization. They believe that she has cooperated with authorities, that she has turned against her connections, and that she represents a threat to the entire ecosystem of organized crime that extends from the streets of Port Charles into the prison system itself. Whether this belief is based on actual evidence or merely on rumors that have circulated through the prison grapevine remains unclear. But what is undeniable is that these inmates are now absolutely convinced of Willow's guilt, the brutal attack, and near-fatal consequences. With this dangerous misconception firmly planted in their minds, the prisoners begin to feel justified in taking action against Willow. In their twisted logic, they are not committing an act of senseless violence. They are, in fact, administering justice. They are punishing what they perceive as the ultimate betrayal, an informant who has endangered countless people through her cooperation with law enforcement. This perception, no matter how incorrect it may be, gives them psychological permission to act. The attack comes without warning. Willow is in the common area of wherever she is detained or held. The exact location isn't entirely clear, but what matters is that she is in a relatively public space, surrounded by other inmates. This is where the prisoners strike. The assault that follows is absolutely brutal and vicious. Multiple inmates attack her simultaneously, and the violence is severe enough to bring Willow to the very edge of death itself. The attack is described in shocking terms. It's not just a fight or a scuffle, but an attempt on Willow's life. The injuries she sustains are life-threatening. As the violence unfolds in that common area, other inmates and guards witness what is happening, but in that critical moment, Willow's life hangs in the balance. She is beaten down, overwhelmed by the sheer number and ferocity of her attackers. Blood is spilled. Bones may be broken. Internal injuries occur. Willow loses consciousness, and as she does, the horrible reality sets in that these attackers may have actually succeeded in killing her. Medical personnel rush to her aid, and she is immediately taken to the prison medical facility or potentially transported to a hospital. The extent of her injuries becomes clear only when doctors begin their examination. Willow has survived, but just barely. She is fighting for her life in a hospital bed, her body covered in bruises, her body racked with pain, her mind traumatized by the violence she has endured. The attack has left her physically devastated and psychologically scarred. Drew's intervention and the quest for truth. When Drew Kane learns about what has happened to Willow, when he discovers that she has been brutally attacked and nearly killed, his response is immediate and uncompromising. Drew is not a man who tolerates injustice, especially not when it comes to someone he cares about or someone who has been victimized by a terrible misunderstanding. Upon hearing the news, Drew makes a critical decision. He will use every tool at his disposal to uncover the truth and to force Michael to act. Drew understands something that perhaps no one else fully grasps at that moment. Willow is innocent of the charges that the prisoners have leveled against her. She is not a rat. She has not become an informant. She has not betrayed anyone. She is simply someone who has been caught in the middle of a misunderstanding, someone who is targeted because of a false belief held by violent criminals. The real problem is not Willow's guilt. It's the fact that no one has corrected this false narrative. This is where Drew's connections become crucial. Drew Kane has significant resources at his disposal. He has contacts in law enforcement, in the judicial system, in various places of power throughout Port Charles. He has spent years building relationships and accumulating favors that he can call upon when the situation demands it. When Drew decides to act, he taps into this network of connections and uses them ruthlessly. Drew's plan is straightforward but effective. He will use his influence and his connections to pressure Michael Corinthos directly. He will make it absolutely clear to Michael that if Michael does not step forward and publicly declare that Willow is innocent, if Michael does not confess the truth about Willow's actual role and status, then Drew will use every legal and social tool at his disposal to make Michael's life extremely difficult. This is not a gentle suggestion or a request. This is a demand backed by the power and reach that Drew possesses. Drew understands that Michael, as a member of the Corinthos family and someone with ties to the mob, has the ability to control the narrative within the prison system. If Michael were to spread the word that Willow is innocent, if he were to use his family's connections to communicate this truth to the inmates, then the prisoners would be forced to accept this correction. The attack might not have happened if this truth had been known. Going forward, Michael's statement could potentially prevent further violence against Willow. The escalating conflict. However, Drew's actions trigger an unexpected and dramatic consequence. When Sonny Corinthos learns about Drew's interference, about his pressure on Michael, about his use of connections to coerce the Corinthos family, Sonny's response is explosive. Sonny is a man accustomed to power, to control, to being the one who makes demands rather than the one who receives them. For someone to attempt to manipulate or pressure his son is, in Sonny's view, an unacceptable violation of his authority and his family's autonomy. The conflict that develops between Drew and Sonny is not a minor disagreement or a simple misunderstanding. It is a major confrontation between two powerful men who have very different ideas about how the situation should be handled. Sonny views Drew's interference as an overreach, as an attempt to muscle into Corinthos family affairs. Sonny may also feel that Drew is threatening the family's delicate balance with the criminal underworld. After all, having Michael publicly declare anything could be seen as a weakness or as a willingness to cave to outside pressure. Drew, on the other hand, views his actions as necessary and justified. In Drew's calculation, Willow's life is more important than Sonny's pride or the Corinthos family's complicated relationship with the prison system. Drew is willing to risk everything, including his relationship with Sonny, in order to ensure that an innocent person is not murdered as a result of a false accusation. This conflict represents one of the great moral dilemmas that General Hospital loves to explore. When is it appropriate to intervene in someone else's affairs? When does loyalty to the Corinthos family conflict with loyalty to the broader principles of justice and truth? How do you navigate situations where doing the right thing might create powerful enemies? These are the questions that drive the drama forward and keep viewers on the edge of their seats, desperate to know how this conflict will ultimately resolve. The stakes continue to rise as neither Drew nor Sonny shows any signs of backing down. Their conflict threatens to destabilize the entire power structure in Port Charles, creating ripples that affect everyone around them. Other characters are forced to choose sides or attempt to mediate between these two powerful forces. The tension builds with each passing day, and viewers are left wondering, will Michael ultimately choose to stand with Drew and tell the truth? Or will he remain loyal to his father and refuse to cooperate with Drew's demands? The answer to that question will determine not only Willow's future safety, but also the future trajectory of the Corinthos family itself and the balance of power in Port Charles. Next, we will learn about the electrifying breakthrough that Emma Scorpio Drake and Giovanni Joe Palmieri are on the verge of making in a secretive lab setting. As tensions simmer in Port Charles, these young investigators are poised to unravel a web of deceit that could shake the foundations of the medical community there. Their bold infiltration promises twists that fans won't soon forget, blending youthful determination with unexpected horrors lurking in the shadows of scientific ambition. The long-awaited scheme unfolds. For months, Emma and Joe have meticulously plotted their daring entry into the restricted laboratory, a plan born from whispers of unethical practices that first caught their ears during late-night strategy sessions at the Scorpio Drake household. What started as casual suspicions about shadowy experiments has evolved into a full-fledged operation, complete with coded messages and rehearsal runs in abandoned warehouses to perfect their stealthy approach. Despite the constant threat of discovery, think close calls with patrolling security guards or last-minute tech glitches in their surveillance gear, the duo's persistence has paid off, turning what was once a pipe dream into a reality set against the backdrop of the city's bustling mayoral debate. This high-profile event isn't just noise, it's the golden diversion they've needed, drawing eyes away from the lab's fortified doors while they slip in under the cover of chaos. Adding layers to their preparation, Emma's sharp intuition, honed from years of watching her parents navigate espionage, has been complemented by Gio's tech-savvy hacks, like rigging a temporary EMP device to disable alarms for a precious few minutes. Yet, even with their ingenuity, the plan hinges on one critical piece: access via Britt Westburn's elusive key fob, a digital pass that could unlock not just doors, but the darkest secrets within. Allies step up in the shadows. Securing that key fob has become a high-stakes relay race among unlikely Port Charles allies, each bringing their own motivations to the table and injecting fresh risks into the mix. Charlotte Casadini, ever the cunning operator with her family's legacy of intrigue, has vowed to swipe it during a crowded gala where Britt's guard might slip amid champagne toasts and political schmoozing. Imagine her using a sleight of hand trick learned from old Casadini family lore to lift it unnoticed. If Charlotte falters, perhaps distracted by her own tangled loyalties or a sudden confrontation with rivals, Rocco Falconeri emerges as the reliable backup. His street-smart determination fueled by a personal stake, a promise to Joe from their shared youth in the city's underbelly. Rocco's previous attempts weren't in vain. They've taught him the lab's blind spots, like a service entrance hidden behind overgrown ivy that security overlooks. Picture him staking out Britt's routine, timing his move with precision, or even enlisting a distraction from a sympathetic bartender to create that split-second window. This collaborative effort underscores the theme of unlikely bonds in Port Charles, where personal vendettas and moral compasses intersect, potentially forging new alliances or betrayals that ripple through the community long after the heist. Misguided intentions meet harsh reality. Emma and Gio's hearts are in the right place as they charge forward, convinced they're on a noble quest to liberate adorable lab animals from what they perceive as cruel confinement, fluffy rabbits with pleading eyes, or gentle mice huddled in cages. Symbols of innocence caught in a mad scientist's grip. Their vision of the rescue is almost heroic in its simplicity, sneaking in, cracking open enclosures, and whisking the creatures to safety under the moonlit docks, perhaps even setting up a hidden sanctuary in an old boathouse. Drawing from Emma's veterinary aspiration and Gio's passion for environmental justice, they've stocked up on carriers, sedatives, and even snacks to comfort the animals post-escape. Imagining a feel-good aftermath where Port Charles rallies around their bravery. But this noble facade crumbles on November 11th, when the lab's sterile blow reveals a nightmare far graver than animal mistreatment. Professor Henry Hank Dalton's operation, shrouded in rumors of grant money funneled through shadowy donors, hints at experiments pushing ethical boundaries into forbidden territory, perhaps genetic modifications that blur the line between species, or serums designed for human enhancement gone awry. The air thickens with the hum of machinery and faint, unsettling echoes, forcing Emma and Joe to confront how their black and white mission dissolves into shades of moral gray, challenging their ideals and testing the strength of their partnership amid the lab's chilling precision. A discovery that shatters perceptions. As they breach the inner sanctum, Emma and Gio's shock will stem from evidence that Dalton's work transcends cruelty into something profoundly sinister, like vaults of bioengineered tissues pulsing with unnatural life or digital logs detailing trials on unwilling participants that echo the city's darkest historical scandals. Imagine flickering screens displaying grotesque transformations, limbs altered beyond recognition, or minds trapped in loops of induced hallucinations, painting a picture of ambition unchecked by conscience. This revelation isn't just visual, it's visceral, with Emma's hand trembling on a console as she deciphers files linking Dalton to international black market networks, while Joe pieces together chemical vials labeled with codes that scream prohibited. The horror deepens if they stumble upon containment units holding not beasts, but echoes of humanity, volunteers or captives altered in ways that defy medical ethics, their forms twisted by experimental serums promising immortality but delivering torment. Such findings could tie back to Port Charles' undercurrents of corporate espionage, where Dalton's lab serves as a front for power brokers seeking dominance through forbidden science. This moment forces a pivot from rescue to reckoning, as the duo grapples with the weight of exposing a conspiracy that implicates familiar faces, amplifying the stakes from personal heroism to citywide scandal. Panic and interruptions escalate the drama. In the same pulse-pounding episode, Britt Westburn's composure shatters like glass under pressure, her instincts kicking in as alarms subtly whine or a misplaced shadow alerts her to intruders. Rushing through corridors lined with humming servers and locked cryochambers, she might first assume a routine breach, only to piece together the gravity when she spots disturbed seals on specimen drawers, her panic mode activating a lockdown protocol that seals Emma and Joe inside with the very horrors they've uncovered. Britt's history as a survivor of Port Charles medical intrigues equips her with the know-how to navigate this crisis, perhaps barking orders into a comms device to summon reinforcements while her mind races through escape routes she's mapped for just such emergencies. The tension peaks if she intercepts the pair mid-discovery, herding them toward an exit before they glimpse something irreversible, like a figure strapped to an exam table whose identity blurs into familiar territory. Could it be Anna Devane, the legendary spy, held captive as leverage in Dalton's web of deceit? This twist would layer espionage thriller elements onto the soap opera fabric, with Britt's divided loyalties torn between protecting her own secrets and shielding the youths from trauma that could scar them for life. Her hurried whispers might reveal fragments of the lab's true purpose, a bid for revolutionary cures masking weaponized biology, adding intellectual depth to the frenzy. Aftermath and unforeseen twists. The fallout intensifies on November 12th, as Britt, breathless and wide-eyed, seeks out Jason Morgan's unyielding expertise to contain the breach, their interrupted conversation crackling with urgency in a dimly lit safe house. Jason's enforcer instincts, sharpened by years of mob entanglements, could mean sweeping the lab for traces or interrogating Dalton's aides. But something unforeseen jolts Britt into deeper shock, perhaps a hidden camera feed showing the professor's escape or a decoded message implicating higher-ups in the Quartermain Empire. This interruption isn't mere bad luck. It's a calculated strike, with Professor Dalton's impeccable timing turning the tide and vision him materializing at the lab's periphery. His calm demeanor belying a ruthless contingency plan, like activating a self-destruct sequence that erases evidence but traps loose ends. The encounter could spark a chase through Port Charles' foggy streets, blending high-octane action with emotional undercurrents as Emma and Joe process their disillusionment, questioning if their rescue has unleashed forces that endanger everyone they love. In this expanded narrative, the lab's secrets ripple outward, potentially drawing in figures like Sonny Corinthos for protection rackets or Laura Spencer for political fallout, transforming a teen-led caper into a symphony of betrayal and redemption that keeps viewers glued to their screens. As the dust settles, the true horror lingers not in the lab's depths, but in how it exposes the fragile line between progress and peril in the heart of Port Charles.